My name is Daniel Rodriguez, and I am a student at the University of Central Florida. I'm at the Hopper Academy in Georgetown, in the Georgetown neighborhood of Sanford, Florida. The date is Saturday, October 15th, 2022. With me is Ingrid Nathan. Could you please start by telling us a little bit about yourself, state your name?
Present?
Yeah, present.
Okay. Ingrid Nathan. I reside in Volusia County presently. I'm married to Pastor Ronald Nathan, who's the pastor of True Holiness Deliverance Church in Sanford on Historic Boulevard. I'm the musician there, in addition to being the pastor's wife. Recently promoted as an elder.
Congratulations. So can you tell us a little bit about your experience in growing up Georgetown, where you lived, how the street dynamic was, and friendships you had?
Growing up here?
Mm-hmm.
It was wonderful, wonderful. You know, I grew up at Burton's Funeral Home, okay? Burton's Funeral Home was, they were the ones who buried the civil rights activist Harry T. Moore. Of course, when he died, I was just 1 year old. 1951. But I grew up there in the funeral home, and I could walk to school. It was great walking to school. Friends all over the place, everybody, you know, we were all connected. You know, today, you see how different we are now, but we were close-knit and went to church together and all types of activities. Mostly as a child, like, I loved playing. When I got home from school, we'd go across the street and play in the dirt until we played in the dirt, played dirt ball and stuff like that. I had a ball with my friends, with the Davis family, Katrina and her siblings and her cousins. And she was my best friend, Katrina Caldwell. She is the sister of Stephen Wright, okay, who's a noted author here in Sanford. He's a professor at Seminole Community College, Seminole State now. And I don't know if he's still there, but he's well known in the community. And her house was my second home. But there's a store across the street from the funeral home called, the owner was Theodore. He was Greek, but we didn't know how to pronounce that. We pronounced what we heard, and they pronounced it Thedo. So that's Thedo's store. I remember, you know, it was nice. I went across the street to the store, bought cookies, $5 for a nickel, you know, like that. And the men would sit outside on the side and talk all day long and shoot the breeze. We walked to school, and even when the weather was bad, we didn't mind, you know. I loved it here. I loved the teachers. We had, you know, the friendship was great, and our principal was fantastic, Mr. Eubanks. And he saw that we had fun all the time. Every Halloween, he played music from the speakers up there, and he had all types of activities here for us. And I remember all my teachers and all my classroom. This was Miss Julie B. Merritt's class, my second grade class. Across the hall was Miss Shepherd's room, and that was my first grade class. Miss Riggins, third grade. Upstairs, Miss Bright, my fourth grade. Miss Lawson, my fifth grade. Then Miss Bird, sixth grade. That's when we left here, and they built a new hopper. We were the last class to attend this school when I was in sixth grade. So I was 11 years old, so it was in 1961. 60, because I was born in 50, it's easy for me to calculate. And we walked down the street to the new Hopper building, you know, and you know, that was our new home. And 1 year there, and then I went to Sanford Middle. No, I went to Crooms, I'm sorry. See, back then you went first to sixth grade, and then Crooms High was 7 through 12. Okay, that was cool for us, because we got to see the big kids, you know. And one little ninth grader there had his eye on me, and now I'm married to him now. So that's how but he had seen me before then. That's another story. I think I put that in my book. Okay, but it was cool going to school with the big kids. And I went to Croom's 7th grade, 8th grade, and 9th grade. That's when Daddy came home and said, "Baby, how would you like to go to the white school?" "Really, Dad?" "Yeah." I said yes. Without thinking, without thinking about what was going on in society, without the thinking about all the lynchings and the bombings and, how dangerous it was to even take a stand and volunteer to do stuff like that. James Meredith, Emmett Till, I wasn't thinking about any of that. Basically, I was just curious because I didn't understand why I was considered to be less than white kids. I didn't understand. My parents raised me to always believe in myself, and they told me I was smart. Give you one incident, okay? When I had to be like 4. There was an old typewriter, and I put the paper in, and I started just typing away. And I said, "Mommy, read this." And she said, "My name is Ingrid Burton, and I am 4 years old." And I said, I typed that? She said, "Yes." I said, "Wow, okay." I put it back in, and I typed some more stuff, and I gave it back. I said, "Now what does it say?" "And I live at 900 Locust Avenue." They made me think I was smart. That was the funniest thing, that situation. But they always taught me to believe in myself, and I was showered with love. My mother died when I was 5, almost 6. She died in May of 1956. So I was almost, I hadn't even come to school, gone to school yet. She had plans for me, but when she passed away, she had no control of those plans. She died in May of 1956, and then I went to 1st grade. But, life is like that, life goes on. So my life changed, but I continued to go to school here, and my dad was widowed until he married my stepmother, Cleo Alexander. The thing about it is, though, he always, and I didn't know I was adopted at the time, too. Found out I was adopted. But I didn't find that out until I was 29 years old. That's another history you guys can check me out. It's another book I have to write. But he loved me so completely. So just showered me with love. And he sat me on his lap every day and looked in my eyes and said, "I love you by Jingoes." His term was by Jingoes, by James. "I love you by Jingoes." He smoked a cigar, and he was a jovial guy, and everybody liked him. And he just said, "I love you. I'll give you you are my natural heart. I'll do anything for you." And that was the way my dad treated me and talked to me all my life. So when Mom wasn't there, I wanted to be with my dad. They tried to get me to live with my godfather, Dr. Starr, and his wife. I stayed a couple of nights, and then screaming my head off, they had to bring me back home to my dad. And it was like that. He tried to do the best for me, but I wanted to be with him because I loved him. And so when he married my stepmother, then we were a family again, and that was for his benefit too. So it was when he was married to her in 1964 that he asked me about integrating schools. So the thing about it, another reason I was not afraid is my cousins and I, when my father married Cleo, then I inherited a great big family, the Alexander family. I had cousins galore, and uncles and aunts, and my aunt lived next door. My cousins lived across the street, and we just they were like sisters and brothers to me because I was an only child. Okay, my mother died. I only had my father. So I wanted family, and I was an only child. So my cousins became my sisters and brothers, like that. And so Frederick and Pumpkin, that's Frederick Alexander and Reginald Alexander, but we call him Pumpkin. They rode their bikes down Locust Avenue, and they crossed Locust, they crossed Celery into the white neighborhood. You see, Celery divided blacks and whites, and they did it for fun all the time. So the tomboy that I was, they invited me to go with them, and I did, and I rode through there with them many times, just having fun. So I was just curious, and the white people we waved at the white people, and they would look at us like, what are you doing here? You got some nerve. So when Dad asked me, I was curious because I just didn't understand what was it about me and my people that we weren't as smart as white people. We couldn't do as well. And so I did. I didn't even question it. That night, the night before I went to the school, I got a phone call from a white lady telling me not to go. And she said, go tell your parents you don't want to go. We don't want you at that school. You need to stay with your own people. So go and tell them now. And I said, yes, ma'am. Hung up the phone and went to bed. I didn't even care about what she said. It didn't seem like a threatening phone call to me. But today, in today's world, it would be considered that way. But I didn't consider it a threat. I went to bed. It didn't even bother me. I went to school the next day, and went to Sanford Middle. And my job there was to do well. And I do well for my dad. I wasn't looking to see my name on the building someday. I was just there just to be a good student like my parents wanted me to be. I had to represent my dad at all costs, and I couldn't let him down. So that's what I did, and that's how I integrated schools in Seminole County. Then I went to, that's Sanford Middle. Then I went to Seminole High School. There were, I think, 8 of us. If I try to name them now, I might leave out some. But I wrote them down somewhere, but I wasn't prepared today. But we were all from Georgetown. And there was one girl, I think, from Oviedo or Geneva, and one girl from Bookertown, Willie Mae Williams, I believe she was from. And I know it's Carolyn Matthews, Carolyn Williams, Dolores Hodge, and myself, Willie Mae Moore, Willie Mae Williams. I can't think of, Viola Jordan. I don't know if she went, in 1965, that's when we went to Seminole. And we were the first black students in the graduating class of Seminole. I was tapped by the Honor Society, and so that was the first black Honor Society at Sanford. That was the only club that I could be a part of, because back then you had to apply to be in clubs. I applied to be in the Future Teachers of America, okay, because I thought I was going to be an English teacher, and I was declined. But when I graduated from Seminole, I went to Florida Southern, Lakeland, and I majored in Spanish. And I graduated with honors in Spanish, got my degree, and I taught Spanish for 20 years at Lake Brantley and 17 years at Lake Mary High School, and I'm fluent in Spanish and English. So, and that's, now that's a lot more than what you were asking. I'm so sorry. But life here was just wonderful. We didn't know we were inferior. We weren't say oppressed by people in this community. Nobody came in bothering us. We just had fun every day. It was really nice. The challenge came when we had to take a step on the other side and open that other door, because we're not in this world by ourselves. We could only stay separated for so long. I think in the grand scheme of things, the great plan, and God intended for us all to get along and to, to be one human race, be the human race, So, but it's been hard. It's been a challenge to keep it equal when it, to care for the Black children as they integrate schools. It's been hard because the culture was different. And, being a teacher, I've seen it. You've got white teachers teaching Black students for the first time, vice versa. And you have different socioeconomic things going in the homes. Society has just changed. But there's still a need, for any child. Anytime a child can see someone that looks like them doing something, then they know that they can do it as well. Right? They have hope. There's a Black president, I can be president. There's a Black Spanish-speaking person, I can learn Spanish and be fluent myself. There's a Black mayor, I can be a mayor. There's a Black astronaut, I can. Hispanic, I'm saying African American, I use Black, I know who I am. We know who we are. So I don't, pardon me for not being politically correct, but it's important for people to identify and know that they can achieve just like others can.
So, in that you mentioned that Dr. Stark was
Yes.
your godfather.
He was my godfather.
Can you elaborate on how your relationship was with him or anything?
Yeah, he was great. He was a teddy bear. I love him. I went to their house so many times, and I tried to be a good girl, and he gave me shots. And I loved going to his office. He had a way. He would have people waiting in his office, and then he would look at his soap operas he would take his break and look at TV. Then he'd call for his patients back, But I remember one time I was hopping on some steps on one leg. These were cement steps, and tripped and put a gash in my head. And he had to sew me up. And that was one time. It took like 4 people to hold me down. I was 7 years old. It took all these people to hold me down. It didn't hurt. It just was frightening. He had a needle that was stitching me. But I loved my godfather. He was the best. He and my godmother. And I wanted, I explored being a doctor. I thought about being a doctor, but when Alvin Taylor showed me, he's one of my little brothers here in the community. Alvin Taylor, Larry Curtis, Ricardo Gilmore, Lou Charles Harrell, they were my little brothers. They came to Seminole a year or so after we came. But they looked up to me, and I saw them as my little brothers. Alvin was taking Spanish, and I said, "What's that?" And he showed me a little bit, and I became infatuated with Spanish. When I heard him say some words, I wanted to learn it because it represents a closed door. If I speak, and this other person doesn't speak Spanish, but I do, then I can open a door that was locked before. If I spoke only English, they spoke only Spanish, we can't communicate. But if I speak their language, I open a door of opportunity and a door to communication and, being human with each other and sharing. So when I went to college, my roommate spoke Spanish and French and English. So I really hadn't decided what I was going to major in when I went to college. But when I saw that she was from Cuba and she came to Miami, Aitza Gonzalez, and she spoke French fluently, I said, well, if she can do that, she's in my country, she's speaking my language all day long. when it's not her first language. And so I can do the same thing. It seemed like a mountainous thing to do. I thought I was gonna have to learn like 10 dictionaries full of words. How? But I found out that no, to survive, you don't have to learn what a lawyer says. You don't have to learn I don't know plumber vocabulary. I just have to learn that there are a lot of cognates and words that sound like English that are Spanish. And so it got better, and I majored in Spanish. I loved it. And because I'm a musician, it was easy for me to duplicate the sound that I heard. I had to be exact. So people think I'm Hispanic because I have a decent accent, but they can't tell. They ask me, where are you from? And I'm going, Sanford, Florida. Because I'm not from Spain, I'm not from, I don't have that twang, the Mexican, Puerto Rican, I don't have that. They say, which country are you from? So I confuse people. But I'll sum it up right there.
All right. You've elaborated on your childhood, many childhood experiences. What about life on Sanford Avenue, the business district here?
Oh, my uncle and aunt owned a cafe called the Friendly Cafe. And I used to go there and eat a lot with my dad. And one of the teachers from Crooms, his name, we call him Coach Franklin. And he was there all the time, and he spoke to me and my dad all the time. And he called me pork chop because I always wanted to order pork chops from the restaurant. Sanford Avenue was nice, we used to we really didn't do our chores. Me and my sister didn't do our chores like we were supposed to. Sometimes we just go downtown and just walk down Sanford Avenue and just see stuff and just and it was very pleasant, and everybody, we knew everyone. And it was nice.
And what stores were there?
Well, on Sanford Avenue, beauty shops. I remember there was a beauty shop, and there was the fish market, and my mom, Cleo Alexander, she had a beauty parlor down. She was right on Cypress, which was 1 block from Sanford. It was right in that. Chanel's restaurant there, so hers was a block down, right behind Chanel's restaurant. And there was the Army-Navy surplus was there. Jeff Siskin, his father owned it, I think, and he was white, and he and I we spoke, and we were, spoke to each other, got to know each other just hi, and, like that. And he eventually became a teacher, I guess, an administrator in Seminole County. And so I don't remember all the stores. Now on First Street, I remember Yow's and Touchstone's drugstore, Yow's and Manuel Jacobson. My mother, Edna Burton, had an account at Manuel Jacobson, and she bought clothes from there. And, so I don't remember all the stores. Claudia Brown, she is in my family because with the Brown family, 2 brothers were related to my mother. Okay, so the Alexanders and the Browns are, related. And Claudia has such a memory. She knows all of the businesses that were there, and I can't remember.
All right. Do you have anything that we didn't cover that you would like to add? Any closing remarks?
Closing remarks. I'm really happy to see this unfold as a history harvest. Whoever thought to do this, to bring this to life. I love it. I love seeing my teachers out there. And Miss Thelma Shepard, it's my first grade teacher. She was the kindest teacher I had in my life. And I just loved her voice. You know, being in first grade, you know, I loved her mannerisms, the way she talked, and she was my Sunday school teacher as well. Some of the teachers here are my Sunday school teachers at Zion Hope. You know, so we couldn't even mess up in any kind of way because they were all involved. We were all connected in Georgetown. We were connected, you know, and that helped keep us together, keep us focused, you know. So I'm really glad to see this. It helps, you know, I know this is a first step, and I know that there, you know, every year there's going to be more. And I'm really glad that your group has taken an interest in helping us promote Georgetown as a historic place. It's unique. I didn't mention about skating on Locust Avenue. Has anyone told you about that?
Yes, we have heard of
They
it.
told you you've heard about it?
Would you like to elaborate?
Yeah, you see,
Okay.
look, I'll get out of my chair and like show you what we did. No one, I don't think any group in Central Florida had it like we did. First, Cypress Avenue. Every Christmas, kids who got their Union 5 skates, so metal skates that has screws and they attach to your shoe, and you had a key to attach it, and you know, it had springs, it was really, but it stayed on your foot when you got it there, you know. And we got our Union 5s, and we came to Cypress, and you know, I lived in a funeral home, so I could walk to Cypress, and we skated up and down Cypress Avenue, and if a car came through, the boys would latch onto the car and hitch a ride with the cars. And then when they paved Locust Avenue, because it had been a dirt road, they paved Locust, and it was much more decent than Cypress. Everybody went to my street, Locust Avenue, where the funeral home was. Fun. And you know, I looked up to all the guys. They all knew me as a little, you know, little sis, and like they had this thing. Did they tell you about swinging trains? Oh, okay. You know, imagine somebody up front and everybody skating and holding on, right? Okay, and then you turn all of a sudden. That causes a whiplash. Okay, and then it has an action and it has a reaction. So with the whiplash, the one on the back gets the brunt of it. He goes flying around, and then he gets control, and then you start pulling the front. So those at the front go backwards. And so the big guys would let me hold on to them when they did the trains, you know. And I thought I was, you know, because I was tomboyish, I loved it. It was dangerous, but it was fun. People got all hurt up. But skating on Locust Avenue was the best. No one I don't think anybody in Central Florida had it. Well, I don't know, anywhere they had a paved street, kids did that. But ours was a whole community. Kids from Altamont, Geneva, Oviedo, Goldsboro, everybody came over here. Midway, Bookertown, they all came to Georgetown to skate. That was the only place. But I wish you should experience it, guys. Somebody should do this for Sanford. Okay, I don't know where you probably won't use Union 5, but the skating, that's where my husband, like, that's where I saw him for the first time, and I didn't, you know, I thought he was a fresh boy and I ran from him. But then, as I got older, that's where I would hang out with him at Christmas time without my parents knowing about it. So,
All right, Ingrid.
okay.
Thank you very much. This concludes our oral history with Ingrid Nathan
Yes.
at the Hopper Academy on October 15th, 2022.